Alright peeps, welcome back to one version. In the last episode we doubled our amount of good rivers on the map, and in this episode we are going to automate all of our water. All of our water. Is that a warning I'm hearing? No! Right, actually this reminds me. In between episodes I deleted a ladder and plopped a maximum priority dynamite on, and let me show you why. Because if we take a peek underneath this bit dynamite, you'll see that we do not have the impermeable bloody floors on the crack. But now that we've got that blown up, we'll be able to get straight in there and get those very, very important impermeable floors on. Otherwise, these bad water drains will piss bad water straight into our brand new good river. And right here as well, which is potentially the worst place for bad water to be plopping down. And that's because not only are we getting a mad water automation solution on the crack, we're going to be building a second who's an estate for our beavers. And they're all going to be living in this one section of the river here. Ooh, we got a piece of TNT to explode. And now you can properly see the lack of bloody impermeable floors down here. And in 2 metal blocks time, we'll be able to plop these dwarf blocks straight back on top. Not only that, but we'll need to get this stair up and running as well, so you can get these 2 dwarf blocks happening. Beavers, this is now a very much maximum priority job through and through, because we've got 2.6 days to get it in. And where are our builder beavers? There they are. Ooh, yous were bloody panicking as beavers. Get yourselves banging those impermeable floors in. And the second they're in, I'm going to unpause these 2 bad lads. Right, beavers, you seriously need to get this in. Let's check. We do certainly have 8 builder beavers. In that case, I'm going to go ahead, gone into first person mode. Oh, look at the bloody sunset there. On our one working automation system that we currently have. I'll be able to bloody watch it work and all. Or hopefully anyway. Because my idea, I'm not going to lie, I was hoping to follow a beaver over there while I was telling him my idea. But my idea is to hippity hop me way over here somewhere and watch. Oh, this is going to be a terrifying angle, this. And I was waiting until morning to start the speedy up bit, and the beavers only went and bloody got a bit in, haven't they? Well, this speedy up bit is not as intense as I thought it was going to be. I thought you were going to see the bad water drains, maybe start spilling bad water out, but instead, you just get to see me dodgily faff about, moving, making potentially the worst, most jarring speedy up bit that Timberborn has ever seen. Oh, but we got it in though! We got it in! The bad water plug is in! With 0.7 days to spare now. Right now at 0.7 days, I need to make sure we manually get everything sorted here. Now I'm purposely doing it after the change of tide. Because, you know, you're going to have the novelty of, like, manually closing your flow valves every now and again. Although not this soon. We'll just put it down to 1.9. I don't want to bloody flood me beavers, you know? And as well, it'll give you a good idea of what we're automating. This is the physical process. This should have been down to 0 the whole temperate season. This bad lad, we want to start restricting the flow of a little bit more so we can start building a bit of a reservoir back here. Old mate here's already at 2. We can reduce the flow here down to 1. Again, just to ensure we are backing up as much water as beaverly possible here for this bad tide. You're up to 8.5. That's not so matter. You're up to 8.5. We'll have to dip you down to 0 once the bad tide begins. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Just like crossing the bridge of having 3 unemployed beavers. Let's get ourselves a couple of more bloody haulers on the crack. Our water storage is tippity topped off thanks to our 5 water slurpers. We probably don't even need 5, you know. I'm going to go and do a 4. Ooh, we're getting some extra moist canola. You've got to love it. But let's make sure that our floodgates are up to bloody 1 or something daft like that. 9.5 and 9.5. That is fine with me. As long as it doesn't, like, actually get any worse. The flooding should just chill out and not get any worse. Yeah, there we go. Now it's a matter. Oh, what is a matter though is the fact that we're not building any water up here. 0 flow. You're going up to 1. Panic mode engaged for the last time. Because we're going to get some fully sick automation on the gun this episode. Now we'll open these just a wee bit to allow some water out. Just to get where, you know, tippity topped off. So we're fully blocked off down here. We are fully blocked off down here. We are thankfully now fully blocked off down here. We're just about cresting one. Once the water, flows back and comes back around, then we'll be able to fully shut off this mad throttling valve here. And that is our converted river ready for the bad tide / drought. Now, our main river, not in as good a shape. And I reckon the main problem here is the fact that this bad lad was up at 5.5 the whole bloody temperate season. And this bad lad was open, meaning the water level didn't even get to 0.55. Well, thankfully, it's only a 19-day drought. It's now our beavers can't handle, And how did we get on filling Rough Reservoir? Not bad. Not bad at all. And we'll be swooping the water out of here. We need to get this down to 0. Get the water out of this top reservoir rather quickly before the bad water hour spill here occurs and trickles its way down into our mad good reservoir here. Which it will do. It always does. Unless it's not going out to make us a lion. Nah! The one time I wanted the game to make us a bloody belly lion, it didn't. But before the bad water gets there, we get it up to 0.85. And this bad water flow over down into here isn't constant. It only occasionally happens. So this water here will evaporate. This overspill here by our thorns, which, big update from the last episode, we'll get to it in a second. This flow always occurs, but it's so small that it usually just stays up the top and doesn't actually flow anywhere. So I'm happy for now to keep our mad automated bad tide solution up and running. But we do need to make some changes up here. In particular, thanks to popular demand, I have given these thorns protected status. So nae beaver can swing their hammer and destroy these precious heritage thorns that we've got here. So I'm getting 2 lumberjack flags to chop down all of these trees. And then we're gonna make these lovely heritage thorns nice and secure. Ooh, and the big one river is looking topped up. So we'll get this bad lad fully closed and we can manually open it as and when. Unless our beavers get our bloody automation system up and running first. And I've chosen this bit island / hill to house all of our fancy automation. Now I've had myself a long think about how to automate all of this. And I reckon this is the most efficient way to do it. I've got notes and everything. Now, let's start with sensors. The first group of sensors are the universal sensors. So these sensors don't care whether it's bad tide, drought, out. They just sit and measure the depth in this case. And of course, rename to one river depth sensor. And no, look, this may or may not be in the exact same place as the old one that I deleted. They've no worry about it. This bad lad is going to be set to less than 0.85. That's when it lights up. Our next universal bit of automation is going to be our relay. Our first relay as well. And I'm wondering where to pop this. Since this is our only universal relay, I reckon right on there. I've been meaning to pop stairs up here anywho. So beavers, maximum priority that, maximum priority that. And this bad lad is going to be set to all our future sensors, known as a one universal relay. Now our next category for our sensors is temperate. And if we're going to have it listed by temperate, we're going to need a weather station to know whether it's bloody temperate or not. So let's get that for 300 science points and 8 bloody treated planks. This bad lad is our one temp station. And that's all the setup it needs. Now the next thing we need is a fancy pants timer. So let's get that on the 6 science points. I do have all of these unpaused, don't I? Yeah, I thought I did. Because I knew we were going to start blasting through bloody science points. Now this timer we can set up now. It's very simple. This just delays our one temp sensor by 3 hours. Simple as that. Our one temp timer delaying our one temp station. Oh, look at this. We've got a beaver coming out. Oh, we've had beavers coming out on the background the whole time. It's a shame they got hungry and thirsty. But we needed to come out here anywho. because our next bit of automation is a depth sensor in the bloody middle here. And I would like to just delete this small pile, however, it's full of bloody metal blocks. So we're going to plonk it on top instead. And this bad lad is going to be set to 1.80, or more than 1.80 I should say. We need to be precise with our automations here, especially if it's going to bloody walk. And then our third category is non-temperate sensors. And where we want to plop a non-temperate sensor is unfortunately right where this bloody scrapper's flag is. So let's build ourselves a temporary small industry pile and slap it full of scrap metal. At a maximum priority, of course. We didn't want this bad lad disintegrating in 15 days. But anywho, let's plop a depth sensor on there. This bad lad is going to be set to less than 0.80. Now let's ensure all of these are at least high priority. Oh, look at that, we're getting one universal relay up and built. And now we're going to move on to actually automating some of these things. Let's start at our one river here, where we got beavers swimming, getting their wet fur, grafting, bloody moving the water from A to B, and shifting the cogs from B to A. This valve here is going to remain closed at all times. It's essentially a levee. I'm happy enough with it being a valve, because if we do end up wanting to flow water down here in the future, we simply have to open a valve and not worry about deleting a levee and letting all of the river out. No sticking in our one river like our beavers are. We need to shift our attention to the pool. Because if we don't shift this from 0 up to 0.55, it's going to drain all of the water in the river, doing the hole that's getting actively slurped, which we certainly do not want. Because it's not only irrigates our kohlrabi field, but our soybeans and cassava fields and all. So this bad lad is getting automated to our one temp timer. Forgot what it was called there. So 3 hours after a temperate season begins, which gives time for good water to flow down, fill up all of these wee reservoirs and actually get into the river before we open this bad lad and potentially drain the last slivers of water that we have remaining in here. We'd rather not dry up our crops at all, thank you very much, Lee. So when it's off, it's at 0.55. When it's on, it's at 0. And that is that. We've got the pool automated. Now all we need to do is automate this fill valve. And how we're going to automate this is by attaching it to our one depth sensor here, which needs to be set up to high priority, MiGly, otherwise it's not going to bloody walk. Oh, and this could work during the next 16 point days. 16 point days, So for our one river valve, we're going to have it at 0 when it's off and 1 when it's on. And importantly, we're going to set the reaction speed to 55%. And I'm hoping that'll stop all of the waves and splashes that occur when the valve switches on and off. And with our throttle and valve automated, that is, our one river fully automated. Well, once we get the sensors built. And peeps, have a look at this. We got 3 beavers walking past. But wait for it. We're about to have 3 more beavers walking past. Oh, look at these bad lads. Oh, yes. You are the efficiency that I desire in my automation, beavers. And we're only going to get that efficient if we get automating it. So let's automate our one converted river. Now these floodgates here are going to be automated once again to our one temp timer. And I'm going to be linking the solar floodgate to the same sensor. However, when this bad lad switches off, it's only going to 9.5. Whereas when these bad lads switch off, they're going to go down to 8.5. Sorry, switch on, not switch off. When they're off, they're up at 1. When they're on, they're gone down to let the excess water out. Now this is where things begin to get interesting. We're going to automate these throttling valves to our one universal relay, which is beginning to get built. It just needs beavers to come bloody banging in. Which won't happen because we got 8 vacancies, aka need bloody beavers. You need to be minimum priority jobs, not maximum priority jobs. And looking at this, we can calm our plank production. Oh, and I do need to keep remembering to come over here and unpause some power shafts. Otherwise, we're never going to get our dirt excavator back up and running, are we? But the main thing we needed the dirt for was to block this bad water, which it's bloody blocked. Let's get the wall down and we'll be able to see it sitting there, toiling away and not able to escape. Oh, and not only did one of our lumberjacks fill up, but they've cleared out the area up here. Don't worry, we're not going to be sending any beavers over here during this bad tide, including lumberjacks. I didn't want old mate to go and say chop this tree down and end up contaminated. Oh, mild oversight there, MiGly, but I'm glad you finally noticed it. And before, look at that, peeps. Seriously, look at that. There's 0 warnings down the bottom left. Bloody enjoy it, because it's not going to last long in my map. But anywho, to automate this throttling valve, we're going to be setting it to 0 when it's off, and all the way up to 2 when it's on. And I'm going to gun for 55% reaction speed to both not flood our 1 converted river and our 1 reservoir here. Speaking of, MiGly, you didn't even rename this bloody depth sensor to 1 reservoir depthy. Now we know what it's all about. And last but not least, we need to automate this bad lad to our 1 reservoir depthy. Now when this bad lad's on, it goes up to 0.85, but when it's off, like it is now, or like it will be, it goes down to 0. Because it needs to be all the way up at this level at all times. Or, you know, minimum this level at all times. And definitely worry, peeps, we're not going to be flowing water out of here. We've got plenty of capacity from this one wee pool. And look, we've got no bad water up here, because it very rarely actually spills over the edge. If this was 1 block shorter, might be a completely different story. And so we don't confuse things, we need to get this bad lad deleted. I'll take my gear back, thank you very much, Lee. Oh, and look who's been built! It's our 1 universal relay. So let's connect number A to the 1 reservoir depthy. And let's get our B target set to our 1 converted river depthy. So to go over what makes this laddie tick, if this depth sensor switches on, aka if the water level here gets below 0.80, it'll send this laddie switching on. Or, if this reservoir gets below 1.80, it will switch this laddie on as well. And you can see, if we had things set up, we would currently have these bad lads being open and topping up our 1 converted river. But for now, we've just got the... let's just manually open this for now. Let's get all of the water out of here. I was going to say, this fill valve doesn't have the same issue, because it just needs to get tapped into there. Proper, simple automation. But once again, it needs a beaver to hammer it in first. And since we most certainly have a homeless beaver problem, we should go ahead and get some bloody hoosing on the crack, shouldn't we? Some big, large barracks, gone up, gone across, or gone all the way across to the brand new hoosing estate. We're gonna get hooses all the way along here. But that's not all, peeps. We're gonna be crafting a bridge out of the bridge. Well, that's as much as I could build from that angle, but you get the idea. And thankfully, we have a path that we can send in here, and then we can very easily connect all of these hooses together and into the existing bit of path network here. But that's not all the hoosing we're gonna be doing over here. We are also gonna be popping in some row hooses. So now we have the beginnings of a mighty fine hoosing estate, if I do say so myself. And one thing we need to do before we end up forgetting, we need to get into decoration, get our braziers out, and line the edge with braziers for any beaver that's whacking across the bloody bridge. And I would say beavers, particularly of the homeless variety, why didn't you just crack along building all of this here? And I say let's get this bloody hoosing estate built, beavers. You enjoy the water while you can, because the second I start unpausing these bloody power shafts, it's gonna away. Well, to be fair, could end up being a fun surprise when these power shafts are built and how far along we are. Then we get to enjoy the water once again. Oh, and I see ye beavers have got you a bit framing up for your house. I have just got a bit scared about the lack of water that we got. You know, considering we don't have any reservoir at the moment. And we have so much food sitting doing absolutely nout over here. So first things first, let's get our cassava fermenter up and running. And this is rather unfortunate, but we're going to have to get a temporary oil press on the gun. That's 40 logs doing the drain and 10 metal parts and all. And since we're never going to get contaminated beavers ever again, I'm going to sacrifice these plots of land for a fancy oil press. Well worth 120 science points. And that, beavers, is a maximum priority job. And you know what? Why didn't you get all of your resources back? Your 3 logs, in other words, for all of that manual power. Because we're not gonna bloody need it. We're going straight for barred water supremacy. Well, first, we need to go and finish off our automation system. You didn't think this was it, did you? I mean, yeah, no, it's a fairly simple system, but it doesn't do precisely what I need it to do. Because as much as this works during temperate seasons, bad tides and droughts, there is one crucial time of the game that we need to heavily invest in. Now, this is the secret 4th category of sensors, the change of tide sensors. And the reason we waited is because it costs a lot of science points. And this is so epic and advanced that I reckon that only the leggiest of ends who've made it this far through the video get to see it. We start with not 1, but 2 weather stations. We then slap a relay in, we slap a timer in, and this is where it gets expensive, peeps. 1,000 science points for some memory. And we're gonna need 2 of those, thank you very much, Lee, followed by 1 final relay. And I'm just changing this up so it takes up less space. We get the memory and the relay out the edge there. These laddies, maximum priority. Oh, well, these laddies, maximum priority. And then we'll make sure we get these up to high and we'll leave these at medium for now. Because to be honest with you, peeps, I don't know if we got any extract. Oh, we do! We got extract on the deck that we're unable to pick up. Let's get ourselves a bit more temporary storage this time for extract. Oh no! Peeps, I only went and bloody forgot, didn't I? I only went and forgot to delete this big water tank before it was built. And now it's on the side path that will eventually get deleted. Sorry, we can just sacrifice 2 tanks at once instead of just the medium tank. If nothing else, I am happy with this lad's location. And we need to pause a couple of deep water pumps. I'm going to do a 3 because I noticed we had 12 jobs. Which means we still don't have any bloody beaver haulers. Not an issue though. We don't strictly need these 3 inventors anymore. No, we do. We really actually do, MiGly. The reason we really actually do, MiGly, is because if we're all in on spinning these power wheels for, well, power, we need to be going all in on getting domes out of these sources so they flow during temperate seasons, but they are 4,000 science points. Oh, and I was just looking over here. We might want to help our beavers out a bit. Get them some resources back, you know, by deleting all of these stairs here. I mean, after they've picked up the log and plank, of course, because it's imperative that our beavers can get... Oh, I'm gonna do it, let's get it in first person. Look at all of this, man. We've got the cassavas, the bloody soybeans in, and all the canola. Once you fight your way through that and the canola, you get a gun under the aqueduct. And during temperate seasons, or even during bad tides and droughts, if we've got the reservoir capacity, you get to see the water spilling in front of your face. Oh, and peeps, enjoy this view while you can, because it will soon become a Hoomans estate. And forward planning for that Hoomans estate dictates that we, unfortunately, need to pick up 20 scrap metal at some point, because we are getting a better camera angle. Need to pop in some bloody suspension bridges, you know? Let's get a 3x1 in there, and then let's get a 3x1 in here, and that almost connects up. But that's fine, because we secretly want an hour hang here. Now, why do we want an hour hang here, you might be asking? It's because we're going to have ourselves a fancy pants row house that's at the same level as the top of the bit aqueduct here. And you know what, before I end up forgetting, because you know I will, let's get some more houses done. We want 3 row houses here, and then we're going straight for a wee barrack around the back. Now that does unfortunately mean we're going to have to sacrifice 2 canola blocks. However, we're going to sacrifice 2 river blocks and replace those canolas. So beavers, get some dirt in there, and we don't have to wait for power to be restored to scoop some more dirt up either. as soon as we start running low, we can get beavers right back in there. And then in our beavers, need more planting crops on there because you're going to have to blow them up. Otherwise, how are our beavers going to access the front door? Now, behind the hoosing estate, we're going to get ourselves a fancy pants suspension bridge. However, I don't think we have the correct suspension bridge unlocked. Unless I'm mistaken, I'm definitely mistaken in how I've built this. Although we might have the correct ones, because I realised I put the wrong bloody overhang on there. Nah, we need to spend 1,000 science points on 5 long bridges for them to meet up. And yeah, nah, I'm not going to be spending that kind of science points right now when we've got a bloody bad water dome to be getting built. Oh, but this platform, before I end up forgetting, this was the thing that kicked it all off, you know. I really want to have some braziers down the bottom wherever we have falls. So of course I'd like to have 2, but beaver pathways come first, and we still get 1 brazier born in a way while the water pishes down behind it. But anywho, I'm definitely not just using this hoosing estate as a distraction. Oh, for configuring this. Right, peeps, buckle yourselves in, because this took me ages to figure out and think. But I reckon I've got it spot on. So I want one of these to activate during a drought, the other one to activate during a bad tide, but they both activate 7 hours early. So that'll give us 7 hours of storing up the last of the temperate season's water. So of course we got our 1B and our 1D station. Next up is our DB relay. This bad lad, you might be able to guess, is set to or B or D. When it's a bad tide or a drought, 7 hours beforehand, this relay will switch on. And stay on during the entirety of that bad tide / drought. Next in line, we've got the changing timer. This bad lad is an accumulator that accumulates from our DB relay. So this relay switches on 7 hours before a bad tide or drought, and after it's been on for 9 hours, this bad lad will switch on, and these two together here will help our changing memory on a toggle setting with A set to our DB relay and the reset set to 9 hours later off the changing timer. So when this relay switches on, we get a 9-hour timer here, and for those 9 hours, this is also switched on. But once this bad lad switches on after 9 hours, it switches the memory off, whilst leaving this relay on, because it's still a bad tide or a drought. And we're still not done yet, we got 2 more things we need to sort out. But before we do that, we need to get our smelter up and running, because we're fresh out of metal blocks. So back to our fancy change of tide automations. Oh, and I just had to catch myself there. Of course, DB relay needs to be 1 DB relay, 1 changing timer, 1 changing memory, and 1 pointer relay. And then he didn't put the bloody 1s in. That's how focused I am on this. But anywho, our pointer relay is simply not 1 changing memory. And last but not least, we've got our 1 look at me memory. And this bad lad is set to latch. B is set to pointer relay. Reset is on our 1 changing memory. Can you tell I'm reading notes here? I keep forgetting to say 1 and everything. And the reason we skipped over A on this is I have it set on my notes as middle relay. I don't know what middle relay is. I've changed all the names from my notes. What's middle relay, MiGly? And after a quick scroll, our middle relay in my notes are actually the 1 universal relay. I bet you didn't think that was going to come into play again. I mean, clearly I didn't at this point. But now we have all of this set up. Do you know how it works? Do you understand how this all functions now? It's all set up. I mean, it's not built, but this is it functionally, logically working now. Divney worry peeps, I will go through a visual audio actually showing you how it works as it's happening. So, you know, be keen for the next bad tide / drought. Got a bit scared, but that's alright. This'll just dry on up because it's no longer flowing over the edge. Apart from, it is just to bloody make a liar of us. And I say yous are sitting on your arse day and night, so we can get the other farmers that are actually grafting paused and becoming our only hauler. Oh, I was going to say haulers, but hauler. Oh, we got a hoose in. We actually have 0 homeless beavers. Look at that. There's 3 beds and just this 1 hoose alone. Oh, and we got our oil press up and running, so we can make our canola oil. We can unpause our fermenter and start making fermented soybeans as well as fermented cassavas. Now, while we're here building temporary storage, we may as well just make a temporary fermented soybean storage up in here. I must say, I was full up and about out. Look at that, we've still got a wee bit of water left, and we've only got 3.3 days remaining. I don't think... Oh, actually, no, the soybeans will dry out and die. Oh, no! They will die out and dry. Guaranteed. Because that river right there is about to dry up before we complete a 180-degree rotation. Although, thankfully, due to the water in this river, it's only this corner that's going to dry up and die pretty much immediately. Although the same can't be said for these wonderful kohlrabies here. They're also going to cook it. We don't have any storage for them. Although we could have some storage for them, considering we have 0 fermented cassavas. So beavers, stop being haulers and get back to ripping up all of the kohlrabies. And with these back 3 built, let's get these 4 forward ones built. Since we only have 2 and a bit days left, why didn't we whip a mild speedy up it? And then we can see all of our automations come into effect. Oh, and there we are, look! We are delaying this little light from coming on by 3 hours. Let's switch the hood on. Let's see if that's actually somewhat accurate to when the water gets down here. And this is worst case, because it had all the bad water piled up back here. I do want to go ahead and get at least all 3 of these unpaused to give the beavers some more urgency in planting kohlrabies. We're going to pause the rest of our bloody food production. But anywho, let's watch this bar fill all the way up. And then once it's filled all the way up, switch the light on. And what has that just done? A heart rate! It's just opened this bad lad. Which it's done far too early, considering we are... That's right. No, that's not right. Yeah, it's done it far too early. Let's have a look. How many bloody hours are we in before we start getting water down to the river here? Let's say here. Let's bring down our working hours so we can see where we are precisely. So we're between 6 and 7. That's a bloody 6.5 hour delay and not a 3 hour delay that we need. So let's switch this from 3 to 6. And then next start of temperate season, we'll see if it lines up a bit nicer. I mean, it didn't really matter because the water was already completely out of the river by now. However, it will matter in future cycles. Oh well, let's set some beavers running across as the water got across the path. Oh, this is grand. But we can't stay down here for too long. We need to check out this automation. As you can see, it's fully on. So the way it works is initially after a drought, this bad lad is going to be switched on, thirsting for water up to 0.80. These floodgates here, being at 0.85 and, for bonus measure, 0.95, should, really should, keep the water above 0.80 there. Now, once this gets to 0.80, it's going to switch off, which at the moment will close these throttling valves, and then these throttling valves will stay shut until this one reservoir depth sensor here gets to 1.8. And then once this gets to 1.8, it'll switch on this relay, which will stop the whole thing from flooding by just opening this. And that'll be our rate because these are down at 0.85. And then I see we had a 3rd wheel on! We've got a 3rd wheel on! Let's get our power shafts up and running, beginning with this one, and then this one, and then finally this one. And that should be an absolutely not a matter job. No micromanaging necessary. Although with absolutely knee haulers, plenty of water, and a fair dinkum brand new food industry up and running, I reckon it might be time to go absolutely crazy with this, peeps, and unpause not 1, but 2 more breeding pods. Let's have ourselves a speed 3 until we see 2 sprogs. We got Zulgrass and we got Nabingi just nogging about here, having themselves a grand old explore. Get yourselves a bit of wet for by going to see the Tapper's shack, but as well, grow up to be like this builder here and complete our automation. I love it when it works out like that. Now, before we delve into this utterly, at least in its current state, useless configuration, let us quickly go over why I use throttling valves instead of fill valves. I kind of don't really see the point of using fill valves. Because our throttling valve here, thanks to this depthy sensor down here, is already being a fill valve. I just have the additional control of how much flow I want to put through it, which is important because I want to make sure that plenty of flow gets to round here, especially during these initial fill-up times. Which, thanks to this being above 0.80, we've got a very slowly closing throttling valve here. And you know what? I'm going to do a speed 4 here so you can see just how slow that goes. Oh, I didn't actually think it would be that bloody slow. Yeah, nah, we might have to up it from 55%. But what it's not doing is creating loads of bloody ripples and waves now, is it? And realistically, as long as we get this filled by day 6, that's the quickest our water can stop flowing anyway. So yeah, nah, apart from simplicity and cost, because it costs less science and less fancy materials to get the fill valve versus a throttling valve, I find the fill valve to be a tad limiting. Although I will admit that in this particular situation for this river, a fill valve would be the choice. Especially if you get a reaction speed slider, because then you can still stop the old waves and overspilling. But I've had a few comments about fill valves and why I'm not using them and whatnot, so if anybody is wondering and hadn't commented, no yous nah. And look at this bad lad already doing to 0, and it'll go straight up to 1 when this switch is off. But for now, we need to adjust the automation of this valve from our one universal relay here all the way to oh, look at me, memory. Now, if this is all set up correctly, this memory here should switch on when this relay switches on. And you know what? To make this a bit simpler, I'm just going to flip these two around. I'm going to cheat, but I'm going to delete all... I'm going to delete all 1% of resources. So there we have it all set up. And it actually makes more sense for the flow. So this flow all goes this direction. And this flow also goes from right to left, unless I do this, and then it goes from left to right. So we got our change in memory, which is what old mate looks at. If it's not, it's on. If it's on, it's off. And our look at me memory is the very thing that we need to get our throttling valves bloody looking at. Oh, and it's on! You see how it just switched on there? This laddie's on, our universal relay is on, which means that this should be opening. Yes, it's opening. And now it's closing because the look at me went off because this is off. Oh, that means yes. That means it's working. This is a fair dinkum bloody water level here. I could play with it a bit. However, remember that we've got our 55% reaction speed. So these are very slowly closing even though they're letting out water. Which is good because it means our water level up here shouldn't just stop at 0.85. It should creep up to ideally 1.01, where it's just over the edge, but not flooding anything. Oh, I absolutely love this setup. And it's working. It's actually working. As it should be. Now, of course, we need to wait to 7 hours before tide change to test the rest of it. And we got some mild flood or hush, but that's alright. That'll just help the water level get up to... Oh, we can get dynamite here. Get up to bloody 1.0s. Oh, and we've got... Right. This is all happening. A dynamite in here. A canola in here. And a little bit of extra moistening for our cassavas on the back. But yeah, no, we may want to do something about this. And I have a feeling I just need to increase this bloody reaction speed. Let's get it up to 75%. How much quicker is that than before? Oh, we're only even speed 3. Let's go to speed 4 like we were earlier. Oh, it's whooshing. It's practically whooshing. Now, this should just be an initial flood. Shouldn't be a thing that happens too often. We'll just have to bloody find out, won't we? And if it is, oh, we'll have to lower this and we'll have to adjust this because we can't have this triggering when it doesn't need to be triggering. Otherwise, we'll have mad floods, you know? But we're currently topping up our reservoir. And soon, once this bad lad sees that we're above 1.80, it will switch itself on. And then we'll open the gates again all by itself. Oh, this is fun. Bloody-tastic. Oh, and our beavers got all of the goodies from there. So we can officially give them all of these resources back. You know, I think we might have to do something about this, like. I'm not sure, though. Is it a problem? Or is it just because I just changed it? Let's have a look. They've just switched on, so we're just opening. Let's close it. Look how fast it dips down, though. And is it just because it's closing so fast that it ends up going over the top? It is. Well, no, because it's not closed yet. This may take a bit of fine-tuning. Well, for now, I just want to see if this bloody works. Oh, and I've been thinking I should really get a reset on this. But I can't think of a decent reset. Essentially, I want this to reset after the 9 hours. But I don't want a thing to be going off during the temperate season because it will keep resetting and it'll never get to 9 hours. And it might mess up our memory here if... Yeah. So what's our best bet? Something that isn't going to be on during the end of a temperate season, but will switch on during a drought or a bad tide before that drought or bad tide ends. This switches on and off. This... everything... No, I know what it is! This bad lad doon here could do the trick, because this should, once again, keyword being should. Oh no! No way! Oh, maybe if I go to 0.85? No. 0.75? Yeah, I just need to reduce this. Let's be safe. Let's go to 0.7. Because this is only imperative during a drought or bad tide or the beginning of a season. Otherwise, this relay, which then controls this relay memory, which then is activating this throttling valve, is controlled by this depthy sensor here. Right. So as long as we have this low enough, we should be fine. Oh, and looking at these warehouses, we should get our bloody food industry back up and running. We've still got 30 canola oil, so we'll leave the oil press paused. Now, I do believe I've went over the vast majority of our automation on this bloody map. I mean, just for those that have stumbled upon this video, this bit of automation simply gets these floodgates all the way up when there's the very whiff of bad water. And it's been grafting perfectly. Ooh, speaking of no, we can't. We've got there's 2 little jobs. We have a whole builder's hut with beavers in it. And only 3 in the bloody 1 district centre. Oh, blooming heck, our beavers actually got this in without needing any cupcake intervention. Let's get deleting these bad laddies. Ask the beavers rather politely to pick up those 2 logs, thank you very much, Lee. And while we're waiting for the beaver to pick those up, we may as well enjoy the water spilling out the floodgate. Because you won't be able to see that very well when I've got the last of our 5 big old power wheels up and running. And that will instantly be connected to our power network. Our power network, which with the vast majority of things running, only 3 things paused, is running at 100% efficiency. Look at that. 3,333 basically, out of 815 required. Right now, I am properly keen to just, you know, head off. Speed 4! Why do I keep pressing the Z button? Right, we're going all the way around. We're doing a full 360. And then we're going to wait until we get a bad tide. Oh no, I pressed it too many times. We need to stop spinning, MiGly. This is going to be bad for the speedy up bit. Speed. Oh, I'm going round again. Why? How many times have I pressed this bloody button? This isn't even going to be a speedy up bit at this point. It's just going to be me spinning around. I swear I'm not pressing it, peeps. I'm actually not pressing it. I stopped pressing it like 20, 30 seconds ago. Please stop. No, we're going round again. Oh, right. I've pressed it 3 times. We should get ourselves around and then stop. So we can finally start doing a speedy up it until we're about to change tides. And we can check our tide changing automation. Oh, what's happening? I didn't even notice. Ah! It works. I suppose. That was... I sort of figured it was working when we got all of the bloody overspill. You know, these numbers are a bit off. Why? Oh, has this reset somehow? Let's see. This goes 7 hours early. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 5 bells is when that should have switched on. So if we then go 9 hours from then, 1, 2, it should be switching off now, which wouldn't be too bad. But instead, it's actually going to kick along for another several hours. Thankfully, not actually doing any crazy flooding. Thanks to the... I take it back because I'm about to dump loads of bloody good water down the hole. Or at least I need to keep an eye on this. I need to make sure this works. Right, let's just keep an eye on this and this. I'm going to pause it whenever we get bad water up here, or that gets down to 0, whichever comes first. Right, we have a beautiful water level up here. A beautiful water level up here. But the only thing now is that with our throttling valves looking at the look at me memory, one look at me memory, which as you can see is no longer just mimicking and copycatting our one universal relay, and that's because it's latched to our one pointer relay here, which is not the one changing memory, which is this, which is currently on, but will be reset by this timer in 0.3 hours, and I definitely want some working hours, MiGly. Get that back to 18 before you forget. But for now, I just want to slow time down and check. So before we continue here, this should switch on, which should mean this switches off, which should mean this switches on, which should mean that this is on and back to copying the one universal relay. So let's see, will all of that occur? That's on, that's off, that's on, that's on, yes! It works! And now, this has just opened itself because this is above 180. It's actually quite a bit above that. It should be as close to 2.01 as beaverly possible. And that also means we're just going to dump water down here and flood this area. Tell you what I could do, just for now at least, set this one floodgate to 0.95. There we go. That should do the trick. But I am super happy with this working. And you know what I could do just to test this? Purely just to test this, I am going to change this to like all the way up to 150. So that's at 07 now. So I'm just going to change this number, but the actual result is as if the water level down here went to below 0.70. Now what should happen is this little timer here should switch off. So let's start the game's flow. Let's spread all the way up, and it's off! It's absolutely off! So let's get that back down to 70. This has now been reset. It's accumulating again. That's right. It'll accumulate again all tide long. But that's not too bad, because as long as that reset is on towards the end of the tide, we may just have to do a bit of an emergency. Doing to 0 quick, loads of water out, and then once we're doing to 0 for a bit, we can get all the way back up to 1. And, you know, get a bit of a splash flood on the go, because it's how we do. I'm going to have to open this bad lad and all. Right, before anything gets too bloody crazy, I'm going to call this automation and hoosing episode an absolute suck bloody cess. And yeah, no, I definitely was hoping that bit of TNT was coming in. But for realsies, this is all working. All working as intended. And should keep our beavers topped up for the rest of this bloody bad tide here. But while this bad tide's whirring away, I hope you have yourselves a canny old couple of days until the next episode of one version. And a toodle.